So having now got the ability to show papers by tags, now we've got to give the user the ability to choose the tag. So we need to go into the user interface. So let's go on to mobile standard.aspx in the designer page rather than in the code page. Okay. And in there, what we will do is we will add a div, and we put in a kind of the ability for the user to choose a tag. Probably the best way for the user to choose a tag would be a drop-down list, okay, a drop-down control. And what we'll do, we'll associate that drop-down control with the tags table of the database. We've done this once before using a drop-down, so it'd be a good chance to revise that. So let's go into the source here of the designer, of the mobile standards designer, and just before the center command, let's create some space, okay, and then let's open the toolbox, and with using the toolbox, first of all, let's put in our own div. Okay, let's put in our own div. It'll give us some sort of control over the overall look and feel of the things here. We're going to put in tell the user what it's for. So we say filter articles by tag : and then what we'll do is we'll add a drop-down list. Okay, where we will allow the user to choose the tag that they want to filter by, and so we can call this this drop-down list. We'll call it something like tag chooser. That will make it easier for us to remember. Tag chooser. Okay, SER. Okay, so it's called tag chooser is our drop-down list. I'll just make that C a capital C. Okay, and then after that, what we need to do is probably add a button. Such that the user having chosen the tag, then they press a button to actually then display everything based on that. So I'm dragging a button over there. I'll put the text inside this button as filter, though I won't bother changing the name of the button because we probably don't need to bother with that. Okay. So having done that, as I say, I've done it in the source window because it's just a little bit easier to understand what's going on if we do it like that. Now if we go back into the design window, you'll see how it looks. So that we you have filter articles by tag, I have a drop down where I can choose which tag I want to use, and then I've got a filter. So as I say, we've done this once before. We've associated a drop down with the filter, okay, and that is, we did it for when people are inserting a new article, they chose the week between 3 and 10. And the way we do it is by clicking on the little arrow at the right hand side of the drop down, choosing a data source. Okay, before we do that, let's just view what is our data source. We go to Server Explorer. That shows us the list of all the databases that are available to us on the system. And you see there's my mobile standards ACCDB, which I've kind of like used before, and that's why it's still there in the Server Explorer. Okay, so now if I click on the arrow and I choose data source, again select choose new data source. Here choose database. Don't choose access database, although you would think it would be access database. But access database is for the old version of access before 2007. Okay, so it doesn't matter too much what the ID is. Click OK. Which connection we choose our mobile standards database. We don't really need to save the connection string. Now then, what we want to show is all the tags. So I go down the page, choose tags, and then click, and it goes to the tag table. And then so which do I want to display? I basically want to display the tag field. So select tag from tags is the SQL ready for that. Then you can actually test the query, just see if it actually works, and there it does. We see all the current tags that are in the database, and I click finish, and that will take me to think, do I do it? I mean, remember, if you remember in the new article page, we wanted the visible tag to be the visible text to be the name and number of the week, but then inside it, what was hidden was actually a link to the record number, the primary key, if you like. In this case, we're not going to do that because we're actually going to search. We're actually going to construct an SQL query based on the actual content of the tag, actually the name of the tag. So I'm going to click OK to say that both the value and the text will be tagged, although in practice we'll only ever need to consult the text of that drop-down list. Okay, so now just before we actually, so we would look at this, we won't actually do anything with it at the moment. Let's just see what effect that has had. So I click the play to start debugging to actually show this in the browser. And when it finally comes up in the browser, what we should see is everything we've seen before now, but with a drop-down list in addition to it. Okay, so when it finally appears, you see now we've got this thing here. Filter articles by tag. And so now I've got the list of all the tags in the database. Okay, and I've got this little button here which says filter based on the tag. Okay, now we've got to somehow make a mechanism through which choosing a tag and pressing filter will cause the page to reload, but this time genuinely only showing those records which have been tagged by that particular word. Okay, so what we'll need to do is kind of amend the SQL slightly in the code. So let's go to mobile standards aspx.vb. Okay, this is our current coding. Yeah. Select distinct so and so so and so so and so from papers, weeks and tags, order by and sort by. What we have to introduce into this, and instead of saying just select distinct so and so so and so, if a tag has been chosen, we also need to say where tag equals whatever it is. Okay, so that's what we're going to have to do. Now at the moment, as you see, it happens. It all comes from the page load function, which gets called always at the start of every page. It'll always get called by this. What we'll do now is I'll redefine display tables such they can also take a second parameter, which will be the tag. Okay, by val display table display table by val sort by a string. How you're going to sort the records in what order, and then I'm going to add an extra parameter, which is going to be the tag. Now, I don't want this previous function to stop working because I've added this extra parameter, and there's a very nice feature of Visual Basic where you can declare a parameter as being optional, meaning that the user doesn't have to use it. So I could say something like this: optional by val, and I'll call it something like tag chosen equals, and I'll say empty string. Okay, so optional by val tag, so by default tag chosen will be worth nothing. Okay, but this will mean that this function will still work because it'll sort of like, it'll even though it's only got one parameter, it'll trigger this other function which has got two parameters. Oh, sorry, and I should have written tag chosen as string. Okay, so I should have by val tag chosen as string. Okay, so that's now sorted. Okay, so now we've done that. Let me hide this these bars so we've got more space to see what I'm doing. Okay, so now what we want to do is redefine this such that if sort of like if a tag has been chosen, then we will refine this search based on that. Okay. Now the typical command I'll just type here, even though it's going to cause it. The typical for where you actually filter stuff in SQL, you have something select star from my table where my field equals something. That is the typical. It's not typing very easily at the moment, but that is the typical syntax for an SQL statement to actually restrict the number of things you send back. Select star from a table where a particular field has a certain value of something else. Okay, and in our case, what we need to do is we need to say select distinct title, author, number, abstract, hyperlink from the table papers, weeks and tags where tag equals something, tag equals multimodality or ubiquity or something like that. Let me just I'll actually put it, let's just write it straight into this line here to show you how that might work. Select star from papers, weeks and tags where tag equals single quote multimodality. Okay, I think there's only one paper which does have the tag multimodality. Now this case else, that's the one which gets called every time you first go to a page, but without typing on any of the, without clicking on any of the column headers to order the response. So let's play this back, and just to show you that is the actual syntax for the SQL. So we select all of those columns from the query table, papers, weeks and tags, and filtering it by where tag is multimodality. Okay, so and there it is. So there it is. So there's only one paper in the whole list who's got the tag multimodality. So that's, if you like, that is the syntax that we're trying to use. Okay, so I'm going to remove that where tag equals multimodality. Okay, now we have to remember that there are kind of we're getting to quite a complex situation now of what of choices available to the user. The user could be just simply wanting to see all of the records based on a particular column, so ordered by a particular column, or they may want a restriction. Okay, and so the question becomes, how do you know? Okay, whether the user wants to restrict the value or not, or not. So how do we know if the user simply arrives at the page, showing all the options, or arrives at the page and then the user clicks on one of the column headings to display the material in a particular order, or whether the user has indeed pressed the button? Okay. Well, one thing you can do is in the page load you can find out if it is what is called a post back. Okay, a post back command. If I can work out if it's been come from a button by seeing if the post back is true or not. Now I can do this if I type in now response.write open bracket is post back open bracket close bracket again. Okay. So now what you'll see is that the post back is true whenever I click on a button on the page. Okay, whenever I press on a button on the page, it will reload the page. Okay, and the post back will be true. So now you see there it says false because I've just arrived at this page. Okay, mobile/SPX. Now if I click on one of the column headers, okay, it's also false because the way I've managed to make this page reappear by clicking on these links is just by using a hyperlink. We created hyperlinks, if you remember, where we then said that the actual address of the hyperlink was $sort equals something. So these are all just arriving at the page, I say, without being posted back from the page. However, if I click on the filter button here, press on that, you'll see now that says true, okay, because it is a post back. So let me just show you again in the code in the text there. The saying response right is post back. So page load happens always in an ASP page. Whenever you arrive at a page, the page load function is called. Okay, but we need to know whether that page load function has been called by either clicking on one of the sorting options, or by just arriving at the page, or by pressing on the button which asks you to sort, to filter by tag. And we can find out whether you've done that by looking at this is post back value. Okay, so what we can do then to actually make this now be clear about when it's actually doing filtering and when it's not, we can say wait a minute, a second, just got to get it to stop. Okay, if not is post back open bracket close bracket, then okay, then you can all right, then display table, okay, else, and then if not is post back, we just simply display the table, okay, with the parameters sort. But if it is a post back, namely if the user has indeed clicked on the button and asked to kind of show the page filtered by the tags. Then we're going to pass in a different, so say display table request param sort, and we can play a second parameter, which is going to be the tag that has been chosen, and we can find that from the tag chooser object. So if I say there tag chooser dot text, okay, then I'm running this display table function, having passing to it a parameter which is the contents of the drop-down list. Okay, if we go back into the mobile standards.aspx designer page, you'll see the drop-down list and the button. Okay, and in that page, so there's the drop-down list. Okay, that's going to contain the tag. There's the button which says filter. Now, if the user presses on the filter, when the page load command gets loaded again, it knows that its postback value is true. It is a postback. Therefore, it knows that the user is wanting to see the data sorted by tag. And so then what we can do as a consequence is run the command display table request param sort, the sorting order, and then also add in the tag that has been chosen. Okay, so that's how we're going to decide whether the tag is whether we're going to sort by tag or not, whether we're going to filter by tag or not. Okay, now the other part now we need to do is to build this filtering tag into the SQL. The way I'm going to do it here is we've already got quite a long SQL tag here, and I told you before that in order to bring in the tag, instead of saying from papers, weeks and tags, I only say from papers, weeks and tags where tag equals so and so, ubiquity, for example. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a little bit of string manipulation using the replace function. Okay, so what I can do is here the parameter we're passing in is tag chosen. We're passing in tag chosen into the function. So what I can do here is say something like this: if tag chosen is not equal to an empty string, which is by default what we will be using if the user has not chosen a tag, okay, then what we will do, okay, in the case where the user has definitely chosen a tag, okay, we're going to replace parts of the command query with a more complicated description. So we're going to say cmd query equals cmd query dot replace open bracket, and we're going to replace papers, weeks and tags with a more complicated expression, papers, weeks and tags where tag equals at tag chosen. Okay. Now the reason I'm using that at tag chosen is because later on down the line I'm going to be using the add with value, the parameters add with value technique, in order to put in the value subsequently of tag chosen. Okay, because that way, by using the add with parameters add with value method, it will screen this against any potentially dangerous parameters which a hacker might wish to put in. Okay, so I spoke that very early in the course. We talked about that, but that's the reason for it anyway. So this tag chosen is not equal to anything, meaning the user has come to this page without selecting a tag. If the user, so therefore that means the user has selected a tag, because if tag chosen is not equal to an empty string, it means it is equal to some string. Therefore, the user genuinely has chosen a tag. We change the command query to reflect this. Okay, and then what we will need to do is here, after we've established the OLEDB command, we need to make virtually the same kind of if statement again, and say something again like if tag chosen is not equal to an empty string, meaning if a tag has definitely been chosen, okay, the tag chosen is not nothing, maybe, then we're going to add with parameters our value. So we're going to say dbcom dot parameters add with value, open bracket, quote, and now here we say we're going to be replacing our tag chosen at tag chosen with the true variable tag chosen, which comes from the top of the function. Okay, there it is, display table, optional by val, tag chosen, there it is. Okay, so that's now what we're going to put into the SQL statement. Okay, so now we've got dbcom parameters, I've spelled it slightly wrong, parameters add with value, tag chosen, tag chosen. So now we've got that sorted out. Okay, and then what should happen is dbread, dbcom execute reader. It should be giving us then the whole list of values that it would have given us anyway. Okay, so I'm hoping that's more or less okay. I can't be certain, of course, at this stage, but let's hope it is. Boots and tags where picture and tag chosen. Okay, so yeah, so let's see if that will work. So I'm going to click on start debugging. What should happen is that because when I first run it, I haven't chosen a tag, it should just be behaving exactly as it does normally. So if I choose, it goes to the page, it will display, hopefully. It's just very slow, my machine. I think it's the virus checker which is causing this. If I click on title, it should be able to kind of sort just like it did before. Okay, not quite. No, the sort's not quite working. Okay, author's working fine. The week's working fine, and oh no, it was working fine. That is the correct sort. Okay, so everything's working fine there. Now then, I want to only display the papers with multimodality in them. So I click on filter articles by tag, and I click on filter. Okay, and that has worked. Okay, so therefore, now that has shown me only the papers which have been tagged by filter, by multimodality. Now I'm going to see which ones have got ubiquity as a tag. Okay, I know you've got you see all of those papers which have got ubiquity as a tag. Okay, let's see if the other ones study. See which have got studied. Now only 2 papers, and noticeably here, because there's not much text, the table is not stretched over the whole page, which is probably something we want to change. We want to actually force the table to be 100% of the page width. Okay, so therefore that's not very good. Test tag. Let's see if that one what tags that's got. No, it looks again doesn't look very good. But anyway, everything you see it is working though. However, here, so what we're finding is so we've got therefore the ability now to have a very useful database, because now we've got a list of papers. The users to our system can be adding tags to our papers. We can then order our papers by the tags, and so we've got a very useful thing. We've got at this moment it's not quite perfect because we haven't really combined the tagging and the filtering. So the filtering and the ordering, because we've got here tag multimodality. If I click on title, it's now going to take me out of the tag part again. So I'm now just kind of like looking at all of the papers again. So it's not quite perfect. But in order for that to happen, what we will need to be doing is then probably sharing some session information. And in order for that to take place, we're going to be probably looking at that in 2 chapters' time. Okay, so but what we have now is the basis of a true Web 2.0 application. The huge thing we're lacking currently, though, is any sense of user sessions. At the moment, there's only one user for this whole system. There's no sense of different users being able to add different tags or different papers or things like that. And having different users is extremely important in a Web 2.0 site, because ultimately some users will be better than others at correctly filtering, correctly adding papers to the database. So you might wish to look at those papers which have been tagged by this person as being of this type, or find only those papers uploaded by that person. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is add user information, which will involve some kind of use of session values as well. So that's the next part of the course, which we'll do in the next chapter.